Hey Reddit. I'm Liam, 26M, a game developer from Houston. People talk about success like it's built on encouragement, mentorship, and supportive family dinners. Mine was built on silence, mockery, and the soft lifelong ache of being the kid everyone saw but no one actually looked at. Let me tell you how being invisible turned me into someone they'd later try to sue. When I was 16, my family held one of those forced future planning dinners. Everyone sat around the polished oak table that only came out during holidays and lectures. My mom poured wine like they were hosting a TED Talk. Dad had that "this is a teachable moment" look. Lucas, my older brother, cleared his throat dramatically and said he wanted to be a corporate lawyer. Mom literally gasped. Dad slapped the table, beaming. Dad goes, "That's my boy. A real career. Something to be proud of." Then Emma, my sister, announces she wants to be a business consultant. Mom clasped her hands together like she'd just witnessed a proposal. Mom goes, "My smart girl. My little strategist." Then they all look at me. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't dramatic. I just told the truth. I shrugged and said, "I want to make video games." Silence. Then Dad burst out laughing. Not confused laughing, bold, confident laughing, like I had told him I wanted to be a professional balloon animal. Dad goes, "So you want to be unemployed?" Lucas snorted into his water. Emma smirked and said, "Maybe he'll make Flappy Bird 3. Mom didn't even look at me. She waved her hand and said, "Coding is not a real job, Liam. You need to be realistic, not childish." Then Dad added, "Pick something respectable, something the family can talk about without sounding ridiculous." Everyone laughed again, and I sat there quietly, wishing for the first time in my life that I had never said anything out loud. After that dinner, everything changed in ways I couldn't articulate yet. It wasn't that they abused me. They just didn't see me. Not really. The rest of high school was filled with moments that cemented my role. Invisible unless laughable. Lovable only as a punchline. When I won a statewide coding competition, a big deal for 17-year-old me, I rushed home, excited to tell them. Dad didn't even look up from ESPN. "Cool. What was your math grade this semester?" When my small app hit 50K downloads, Emma said, "That's probably bots. Don't get cocky." When I spent months building a pixel art RPG demo and showed it to Mom, hoping she'd at least say something, she watched for 8 seconds and said, "You should spend this time studying something real." But Lucas brought home a mediocre essay that he got a C+ on, and Mom treated it like he'd delivered a Supreme Court ruling. Birthdays? Forgotten. 3 years in a row. On my 18th birthday, I sat alone in a gas station parking lot with a $3 cupcake, debugging corrupted code on my secondhand laptop. That was the night I learned. You can live in a house and still be homeless. At 19, I moved out. I packed my life into 2 garbage bags and a backpack and left before sunrise. My parents didn't stop me. Didn't ask why. Didn't hug me. Mom said, "Don't come running back when it doesn't work out." Dad said, "Everyone needs to grow up eventually." Lucas grinned and said, "Welcome to the real world." Emma said, "Good luck with your little games." I lived in a tiny studio apartment with peeling paint and a leaky AC unit that sounded like it was dying slowly. I worked freelance coding gigs, debugging student projects, editing messy code for cheap startups, writing back-end scripts for pennies. I lived on ramen and caffeine. But every night, I opened my old laptop and worked on my true project, my dream game. The game that would later change my life started as scribbles on notebook paper. Eclipse Legion was my baby. A story-driven sci-fi RPG with branching endings and a combat system inspired by games I grew up loving. I restarted the engine 9 times, scrapped full chapters, deleted mechanics I loved because they didn't work, went through burnout, panic attacks, sleepless weeks. No one believed in me. No one told me I could do it. But every time I doubted myself, I remembered Dad's laugh, Mom's dismissive tone, Lucas calling me childish, Emma rolling her eyes at everything I built. Nothing motivates like being underestimated. Eclipse Legion launched quietly on Steam. On day 1, 312 downloads. Day 2, 1,200. Day 5, 14,000. Then one random night, a YouTuber with 8 million subscribers live-streamed it and said, "This is the best indie game I've played in years." I'm obsessed. My game was suddenly everywhere. Twitch, TikTok, Reddit, YouTube, gaming news sites. It hit 1 million sales in 2 weeks. then 10 million, then 30 million. Merch contracts, console ports, movie studios calling, investors begging to buy a stake. When Forbes wrote, Houston's 26-year-old indie developer becomes overnight gaming titan, my net worth crossed $80 million. My email exploded. My phone nearly caught fire. And then, timed with the precision of predators, my family came back. Emma texted first. OMG, liar am. So proud of you. Dinner soon? Mom emailed me. Sweetheart, we always knew you had talent. We should reconnect. Dad sent a formal-sounding message. We should talk about managing the family's financial future. Lucas wrote, you need legal guidance. I can help you protect your assets. I hadn't heard from them in years. They didn't even know where I lived. I ignored them until curiosity got the better of me. I agreed to a dinner because I wanted to see the show. We met at a fancy Houston steakhouse. They were already sitting down, smiling like a well-rehearsed infomercial. Before appetizers even arrived, Mom started. We've been having a tough time financially. Dad chimed in. Family takes care of each other. Emma leaned in dramatically. My startup is struggling. Even a small amount, like $350,000, would help so much. Lucas added, most successful people support their families. You don't want to seem selfish. Selfish? Hilarious. I said, you mocked my career, dismissed my dreams, forgot my birthdays, and now you want money. Dad frowned. Don't be dramatic, Liam. Emma scoffed. Oh my God, you're being petty. Lucas shook his head. Ungrateful, honestly. Ungrateful. The irony nearly made me choke. I paid their $600 bill in silence and walked out. Left them sitting there, looking stunned. The next morning, Mom, we raised you. You OWES. Dad, we invested years into you. We expect support. Emma, if you loved us, you'd help. Families share success. Lucas, legally children must support their parents. Lucas apparently forgot I code better than he lies. Then they pulled the classic move. They started telling relatives I abandoned them. Suddenly cousins and aunts were messaging me. Why won't you help your family? They supported you. Supported? Them? So I did what I'm good at. I brought receipts. I posted a monster-length message in the family group chat with screenshots of childhood mockery, them forgetting my birthdays, them ignoring me during financial hardship, every insult about coding, every recent beg for money message, their guilt tripping, their threats. The group chat went nuclear. Aunts apologized. Uncles were stunned. Cousins said, we always wondered why you disappeared. My parents' reputation? Absolute ash. They hated me more for telling the truth than for refusing money. Lucas filed a lawsuit claiming I owed my parents financial support under filial responsibility. Texas doesn't even have those laws. My lawyer laughed so hard he wheezed. We countersent. Cease and desist. Harassment documentation. Threat of countersuit. Lucas folded faster than wet cardboard. But they weren't done. Not even close. When the lawsuit died, my family didn't retreat. They escalated. They launched what I now call the public sympathy tour nobody asked for. Suddenly my relatives, old teachers, neighbors, even former classmates started reaching out. Apparently my parents were saying things like, Liam abandoned us after we sacrificed everything for him. Liam refuses to help his struggling family now that he's rich. We supported his career for years only for him to turn on us. He's changed. Money ruined him. Money ruined me. They raised me on mockery, silence, favoritism, emotional distance. But sure, the problem was my success. My cousin Jade messaged, your mom said you cut them off for no reason? I'm confused. You guys were close, right? I literally laughed out loud. So I calmly wrote a very detailed response explaining. They forgot my birthdays, belittled my career, dismissed me at every family dinner, never visited me after I moved out, only reached out after Forbes wrote about my net worth. Jade's reply was, holy shit, they lied to all of us. And then she added, they're telling everyone you ruined the family name. Classic. One day, my old high school teacher emailed me. Your mother contacted me asking whether you ever showed signs of psychological issues. I told her no, and that you were one of the brightest students I ever had. They were digging, fishing for anything to use against me. Neighbors messaged too. Your dad came by asking if you ever acted unstable when you were younger. We said no. My family was trying to retroactively manufacture a mental health narrative to justify why I wasn't giving them money. I couldn't decide if I was disgusted or impressed by the creativity. Then something truly surreal happened. I received an email from an unknown sender. Subject line, "You need this." Inside was a single audio file. I almost deleted it. But curiosity won. I hit play. I heard familiar voices. The 4 voices I grew up around. My entire family, talking about me. Plotting. Planning. Scheming. My mother's voice first. "Liam will cave eventually. He's always been sensitive. We just need to push the right buttons." Then my father. "We claim we financially helped him." Courts like that narrative. Then Lucas, Mr. Lawyer. "He doesn't have proof we didn't help, so it's his word against ours." Then Emma. "If nothing works, guilt trip him. Make him look like the bad guy. Or tell relatives he abandoned us." People love drama. And then, the line that made my blood run cold. "Dad, if this gets bad, say he's unstable. That he gets angry. That he lashes out. Judges eat that shit up." I sat there completely still, feeling something inside me tear. They weren't confused. They weren't emotionally hurt. They weren't trying to reconnect. They were strategizing. Against their own son. I replied to the anonymous email. "Who are you?" Their response. "Someone who saw too much and couldn't stomach it. Protect yourself." I saved the audio. 6 backups. Cloud. Hard drive. USB. 2 encrypted vaults. This recording was going to save me. And it did. 2 years later, when their manipulation, guilt-tripping, and smear attempts didn't get them a cent, they tried again. This time with a lawsuit claiming emotional damages. Because I didn't financially support them after becoming successful. They asked for $15 million. I'm not making that up. This was their logic. "We are in distress because Liam is wealthy and refuses to help us." My attorney brought a binder thick enough to be a weapon. In deposition, their lawyer asked, "Why didn't you support your family once you became successful?" My lawyer said, "Allow me to demonstrate." Slam. He dropped the binder. It contained all the childhood mockery, all the dismissive messages, screenshots, timeline of neglect, financial records, and the audio recording. Watching their faces drain of color was something I'm not proud of enjoying, but I did. The judge dismissed the case immediately. He even said, "This borders on harassment. Do not return with similar claims." My family humiliated themselves publicly and blamed me for it. They begged for one last talk. I agreed. I shouldn't have. We met at an empty banquet hall my uncle owned. They walked in dramatically, like they were entering a courtroom. My mom immediately burst into tears. "Liam, you ruined our reputation." My dad pointed at me like I was on trial. "You humiliated us in court." Emma said, "Do you feel powerful now? Hurting your own family." Lucas glared at me. "You've become arrogant. You need to be humbled." I stayed quiet. Then I pulled out my phone. I opened the recording. I pressed play. Their own voices filled the room. Talking about faking financial contributions, painting me unstable, manipulating relatives, lying to courts, guilt-tripping me, extorting me, destroying me. When the recording ended, no one spoke for a full 10 seconds. Then Dad tried. That is taken out of context." I said, "No, this is the context." Mom sobbed. Emma stared at the floor. Lucas clenched his jaw. I said, "You don't want me. You want my money. You want my success. You want what I built." They had no comeback. I stood up and said the words I should have said at 16. "You're no longer my family." Then I walked out. They didn't follow. After cutting them off, I filed a restraining order. It was granted immediately. They're legally barred from contacting me. Their public image crashed even further. Most relatives cut them off. They tried emailing from burner accounts, blocked. They tried sending letters, returned to sender. They tried vague book posts, ignored. They hated that they lost control. Hated that their manipulation didn't work. Hated that I chose myself. But I was finally free. Here's something people don't discuss. Even when toxic family leaves your life, their absence still hurts. Therapy taught me something wild. I wasn't mourning the family I lost. I was mourning the family I never had. That realization hit harder than any lawsuit. A few months ago, I got an email from a composer named Aria asking about budgeting for indie dev music licensing. Our first conversation was purely business. But then she sent a second message. Side note, Eclipse Legion's soundtrack is insanely good. Tell your audio team they crushed it. I replied, "Thanks. It was mostly me and late-night caffeine hallucinations." She laughed. We talked again, and again, and again. Then she said, "If you ever want to grab coffee, purely as two exhausted creatives, I'm down." We met. She listened. She laughed at my awkward jokes. She didn't treat me like a wallet. She didn't ask about money. She asked about me. She became the first person in my life who looked at me without needing something. Maybe it'll turn into something. Maybe not. But for once, I feel human. After the final confrontation, the silence that followed was unnerving. At first it felt peaceful, then guilty, then empty. When you grow up in a family that constantly reminds you you're unwanted, cutting them off feels like ripping out a tumor. You know it's killing you, but the wound still bleeds. Therapy helped me understand something I'd never considered. You weren't trying to win their love. You were trying to prove you deserved to exist. And that hit harder than anything my family ever said. Over the next 2 years, I heard pieces of what happened through cousins and neighbors. My dad tried to sue a former employer for emotional distress after getting fired. Lost that case too. Apparently, he rants at barbecues about kids these days and how ungrateful children destroy families. Translation: he's still angry I didn't let him profit off me. My mom tried sympathy tours with relatives. Nobody bought it. Most people know what she's like now. Emma. Her startup failed. She posted Instagram stories with vague quotes like, "You find out who your real family is when you're down." I don't think she sees the irony. Lucas left his mid-tier law firm. Rumor says he was unofficially asked to leave because his behavior during my lawsuits was unprofessional. He blames me for ruining his career. Of course he does. Relatives. Most of them quietly stopped inviting my parents to events. Turns out people don't like liars. Their public image. Gone. Just gone. They tried so hard to shame me, but ended up humiliating themselves. And the wildest part? None of it feels satisfying. Vindication isn't always victory. Sometimes it's just a quiet room with no more shouting. For the first time in my life, I wasn't living under a shadow. I didn't realize how much space family tension occupied in my brain until it was gone. I woke up without waiting for a criticism. I worked without hearing Dad's mocking laugh in my head. I ate without bracing for comments. I created without needing to prove anything. I gained weight I didn't realize I'd lost. I slept through nights for the first time in years. I stopped apologizing for existing. One night during therapy, I said, "I feel guilty for cutting them off." My therapist asked, "If a random person treated you the way they did, would you let them stay in your life?" I didn't need to answer. This happened a few months ago. I found an old USB drive that had backups of early Eclipse Legion files, school projects, and, unexpectedly, a video of 17-year-old me. It was a selfie recording, probably meant to be a progress log. In the video I said, softly, "I hope I don't disappoint everyone." He looked so tired, so small, so desperately wanting his family's approval. I stared at that kid on the screen for a long time. Then I whispered, "You didn't disappoint anyone. They failed you. You survived anyway." And just like that, the weight I'd been carrying since childhood finally loosened. Not gone, but no longer crushing. If the first half of my life was defined by people trying to break me, Aria entered like a quiet reminder that not everyone is like them. We've gone on. Coffee dates, late-night creative sessions, music testing hangouts, long drives with soundtracks we critique together. She's slowly becoming someone safe. A few weeks ago, she said something small but devastating in the best way. We were comparing childhood photos, and she said, "Your eyes look sad in all your younger pictures. They don't look like that now." I asked, "What do they look like now?" She shrugged and said, "Like someone who finally gets to breathe." I didn't realize how powerful that was until later. Because she's right. For the first time in my life, I'm breathing. Yes, they tried again. Sort of. Around Christmas, my parents sent a letter to my old address. "We forgive you. We want our family back. Come home." Forgive me? They manipulated, belittled, insulted, sued, and betrayed me. And they forgive me? It would have been enraging if it wasn't so pathetic. I didn't respond. Not out of anger, but because I'm finally indifferent. That's real freedom. I live in a house I bought myself. I run a studio that started in a leaky apartment. I work with people who respect me. I have a partner who sees me as a human being, not a paycheck. I have friends who choose me, not my success. I built a life far away from mockery and guilt. Sometimes I still feel the echo of their voices. Childhood wounds don't vanish. They simply stop dictating who you become. I don't hate my family. I don't love them either. I simply outgrew the version of them I used to hope for. My final thoughts. If you take anything from my story, let it be this. Money didn't change me. Success didn't change me. It exposed who they were and who I had to become to survive them. My family didn't believe in me, but I believed in me enough to do it anyway. And now, I'm free. Finally, genuinely, wholly free.
Thank you everyone for taking your time to listen to my stories that are posted in this channel. Your engagement and entertainment are a huge part of my motivation, and I hope you all will continue on supporting me in the future. Once again, thank you for watching my videos. For more content like this, please consider subscribing to my channel.